So, the holiday diet has come to an end. I lost a total of 2 stone 1 pound. Now, getting all the questions, just how exactly did I do that? And for those who have not been following, basically how I went from this to this. Yeah, in 6 months' time. Now, just a couple of things I want to get clear. The goal of this diet was to maintain as much muscle mass as I can while stripping the body fat. You know, anyone can just lose weight and become a smaller entity of themselves and just look exactly the same, but smaller. But, you know, from a bodybuilding standpoint, the goal is to look as big and as full as you can whilst literally stripping the body fat off. So with that said, I'm going to be completely truthful. I know it looks like I've just built a load of muscle, but in fact that muscle was already there, just under a layer of fat. No, I'm not here to tell you that in 6 months' time I lost fat, built a load of muscle and got jacked in a matter of 6 months. No, the muscle was already built from a year of gaining size. The goal of this diet was to just maintain that size and strip the body fat, and that's what I've achieved. So with that said, before we can go into this diet, we need to go way back before it started. Now, I've been lifting weights since I was 14 years old. I am now 20 years old. And prior to this diet, I did a 1-year gainer phase of tracking every weight, every rep, every set, getting stronger, week on week, month on month, again, building size. So if you was expecting to watch this and completely transform your body in 6 months' time, I'm afraid you're very sadly mistaken. You have to put the work in, years, months, days, etc. You know, this has to be a long-term game for you. It's not a short-term thing. So once again, the physique you're looking at now has been built over many, many years, and the fat loss phase was just to reveal what I've built. I've not done both at the same time. So now that that disclaimer is out the way, how did I go from that starting point and 6 months later manage to lose that amount of body fat? Now, I've said it time and time again, calorie deficit, that is the principle to all diets. You know, whether you do keto, Slimmers World, intermittent fasting, you eat clean, you know, whatever methods you use, the principle remains the same. And that's very important. I've done many videos on this topic and I'll always stand by it because it's honest, it's truthful, and it's evidence-based. You've got methods, you've got principles. Whatever method works for you, great, crack on. But do not forget the principle, and that is energy balance. You know, what's coming in and what's going out. And even Mr. Joe Wicks is starting to be honest about this.
As long as you're in a calorie deficit throughout the week, you're going to make progress.
So bottom line, for 6 months, I've basically been in a calorie deficit. I've not been giving my body as many calories as I'm burning each day. Therefore, my body weight over time has reduced. Back to the methods. Whatever way you can stick to, i.e. whatever way you can maintain and adhere to a calorie deficit works for you. So there is no right or wrong way, although some are pretty daft, but there is no right or wrong way to put yourself in a calorie deficit. Again, whatever you can adhere to for a long period of time, i.e. 6 months, works for you. And I'll be honest, along this 6 months journey, I have not stuck to the one single method. It's changed a little bit. So the first method I used was in fact calorie tracking and my protein intake. And I've actually done a video separate to this, and I'll link it either in the comments or the description of whatever platform you're watching this on. Right, so step number 1, you're going to want to take your weight in kilograms. And using the MAC formula, I actually worked out how many calories I specifically need from that start point to be intaken in order to lose body fat. And again, that video is completely free. You can go and watch it and work out your number for yourself. And when I'd done that, it had me at around 2,400 calories. And so using the free app, MyFitnessPal, I would track everything I ate, ensuring that I stuck around 2,300 calories. And this was a pretty cool method because it allowed so much flexibility, again, ensuring that my numbers stayed consistent. I could fit in things that I enjoyed. And I'm not saying, yeah, it's all good and well to go and eat at McDonald's. No, the majority of my diet was wholesome foods, and I'll get into that later. But the point was, I could kind of eat whatever I wanted within reason along them numbers. So, you know, if I wanted a packet of crisp, or if I wanted like a Snickers bar or something that is deemed bad, I could fit it in while still losing body fat as long as I stayed within the numbers, because once again, going back to the principle, energy balance stayed the same. And so for the first 1 to 2 months, this was the method I chose. And again, it worked, I lost body fat, but as you can imagine, eventually it got a little bit tedious. And even though I was kind of rotating the same 15 foods, which we all tend to do, I just got a little bit fed up of just having to track everything. And, you know, on top of everything else, work, you know, just general life stuff, I couldn't really be arsed tracking everything. And so I changed to a different method. It's not something I'd recommend most people do for a performance standpoint, but again, the goal was to lose body fat, and once again, going back to the principle, we just had to drop calories in a way that suited me. What to do after that was pretty much just massively restrict my carbohydrate intake. Now, no, carbs are not bad. There is nothing inherently wrong with carbohydrates. Again, it is your primary energy source, and it's pretty much vital that you get them in from a performance standpoint. I simply just took out carbohydrates. So yeah, I pretty much stuck to like meat, fish, dairy, yogurts, you know, protein supplements, a lot of veg, a hell of a lot of veg. Again, I'll get more into that with what I eat later on. But yeah, mainly I just stuck to protein and fat. My carbohydrates were not at zero, they were probably sub 30 grams a day, so very, very low. And the benefit of this was that it was just simple. I didn't have to track anything. I could just, you know, make a dinner or go to a shop and literally just pick out protein and fats. And because I'm cutting out, again, such a big food group, against like, you know, the no breads, the no pasta, the no rice, because I was doing that, I was just kind of, you know, simultaneously cutting out a lot of calories. Probably for the majority of this diet, that's what I stuck to. I would do that Monday to Friday, and then the weekend I would allow a little bit more carbs. Now, no, we're not talking cheat days, we're not talking massive binges. I would just include them again, because again, it's your primary energy source, and so if you were to just go 6 months straight without them, you'd probably start feeling a little bit run down. So whenever I did feel like that, I would introduce them back again. But for the most part, it was pretty much no carbs. I hope that made sense. Again, I'm not demonizing carbohydrates, they are fine. You know, I'm well aware of the science. I'm fully aware that you can have carbohydrates and still lose body fat. I'm well aware you could have, you know, a very rich carbohydrate diet and still lose body fat. I'm well fucking aware. But I'm also aware that it's the calorie deficit that's the primary driver to fat loss. And for me, the method that I enjoyed sticking to was just simple, stick to meat, stick to veg, and I'm good with that. And there's nothing wrong with that. Again, this was only a short-term thing. This isn't a lifestyle. This isn't I'm never eating carbs again. This was just, I've got 6 months to lose body fat as much as I can. What can I actually stick to? And I found that for me worked, evidently. And also, a cool little bit of science, quick little fact, your body actually prioritizes the glycogen replenishment of muscles more than anything else, which is basically, you know, when we eat carbs, we store it, you know, muscle cells, liver cells, and anything excess is then stored in body fat. But when you're deprived and you're depleted for a long period of time, when you then reintroduce them, no, it doesn't go straight to body fat. That's a big myth. Your body actually primarily puts it in muscle tissue. So, like I said, I'd do Monday to Friday, pretty low carb, and then I'd be that depleted by the time I would get to the weekend and have a little bit more, bit of leeway. It would actually just shuttle into muscle cells more than anywhere else. Again, unless I went absolutely over the top, which most people do, which I didn't, you know, none of it went to body fat. It just went back into muscle cells. I felt good, and I could then go into another week fresh. And again, it goes without saying, I should not have to be the one to tell you this. You're a grown-ass adult. Fuck ton of water, like literally 2 to 3 litres a day. I would just swig this down. I didn't really drink anything else apart from the occasional protein shake. My liquids were pretty much just water. You know, I'm a big advocate of not drinking your calories. I feel like it's a massive waste, especially when you're restricted through food as well. You know, drinking them, again, it's a massive waste, so loads of water. Now, supplements. Now, mainly the supplements I take are just for general health. I am not a BCAA type of guy. I don't take any, like, you know, massive bodybuilding supplements like L-carnitine and all this kind of shit. I don't bother. So my supplements were vitamin D, magnesium oil before bed, fish oils, and creatine. Creatine, it's a natural thing produced in the body, and it's got major benefits when it comes to performance. I've not done a video on it yet because it's so in-depth. It is the most research and safe supplement you can take, but I will link a video by a guy called Jeff Nippard, and he completely breaks the science down, and he really explains creatine better than I ever could. But yeah, so I would take them supplements every day, and that's pretty much it. The only kind of fat loss supplement I kind of implemented a couple of weeks into the diet was a fat burner. Now, I've done a separate video, again, I'll link it, on fat burners. Right, let's talk about fat burners. Again, that video goes more in depth, but do they burn fat? No. Really? They do help suppress appetite a little bit, and because they contain caffeine, they give you a little bit of energy. So, you know, when your calories are a bit low, it just helps with the hunger and it gives you a bit more energy, and that is pretty much it. And I'm not a huge supplement guy. I'm, you know, food over supplements any day of the week. But yeah, most of my supplements were just general health. Now, a very common question, did I cheat? Do you see this? Skin, hair. I'm human. I feel shit. I get hungry, I get emotional, and sometimes you just want to go balls deep into a Ben & Jerry's tub of ice cream. So there was a handful of times where my self-discipline just wasn't quite there. You know, I got hungry, I got frustrated, I had a bad day, or whatever it may be, and I thought, you know what, fuck it, I'll start tomorrow. Like, that's normal. You shouldn't feel bad for feeling like that. You know, we're humans, we're emotional creatures, we're not robots. It's very easy for someone to be like, oh, here's your calories, here's your macros, here's your protein, and not expect there to be any other implications or other life things to come into play. It's normal. You are going to fuck up. You are going to fall off the diet wagon many times. It's fine. Chill. So I done it a couple of times. Whenever I did, I would just write a line under it, start again tomorrow. You know, sometimes I would go back and maybe analyze why it happened. You know, did I eat all my calories too soon in the day and then leave the evening just getting a bit hungry? Eating too little throughout the day overall and just had a massive appetite in the evening? Or was I just having a shit day? Like, just write a line under it, analyze what happened, can you avoid it, and start fresh tomorrow. Like, the worst thing you can do is let a bad day turn into a bad week and just completely fall off. Like, have you slip off? Fine. Move on. So let's go back to what it was I actually ate. Now, like I said, it was mainly protein and fats. So we're talking, you know, plenty of meat. So I'd get like a load of chicken breast in bulk and I would grill them. You know, I'd grill them in the oven, so like no oils and stuff. And I'd keep like 2 or 3 days worth in the fridge. And then for convenience, I'd always have them there on hand. Other protein sources were tins of tuna, you know, the occasional protein shake, like protein bars as snacks. Like I said, plenty of veg, so I'd get like these little microwavable packs of vegetables that you could just throw in the microwave, and in 4 minutes you'd have a little portion. I'd have them pretty much 2-3 times a day. Avocados, I kind of found a real love for avocados. You know, a typical meal for me that I probably had about twice a day, almost every day, was chicken breast, bit of veg, some sliced avocado, and then maybe some like cheese on the side. So again, looking at that meal, it is pretty much just protein and veg and fats, obviously. And the good thing with this, again, going back to the whole low carb thing, is that they're pretty satiating food groups. So my hunger wasn't that bad after them. It was okay, to be honest. I would say the biggest struggle is balancing the social aspect of things. Another struggle I'd say would be energy levels. So like I just said, because I was fully aware that I was taking out the primary energy source, yeah, my energy wasn't great. There was many days where legs felt heavy, you know, motivation to train wasn't always there. But again, it's part of it. I mean, you're in a deficit. You're going to feel like that. It's, again, completely normal. You're not going to be, you know, all happy and rainbows and full of life. Like, if you're reducing your calorie intake to a certain degree, you will feel a little bit tired. Now, it's not major. You're not going to feel like you're going to pass out and faint at any moment, but it's just, you know, again, legs feel a bit heavy, you sit down a little bit often, and it's just little things like that. But yeah, that's something else I'd say I struggled with. And, you know, coming across foods that you'd really like to eat, but you know it's going to put you way over your calories. But again, bit of self-discipline, but also, you know, still allow some flexibility in there. So a little tip, I'll go into tips later, but a dead quick one right now, you can save calories for certain events. Like you can, it's completely fine. You know, like old Joe Wick said, it's the weekly amount of calories that matters most. So, you know, if you know you're going out for a family event on like the Friday, then, you know, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, maybe eat a little bit less. So come Thursday, you've got some calories extra to use. That's completely fine. So with that said, let's go on to struggles. What did I struggle with? Now, there was a couple. I mean, it might sound a bit like hypocritical going off that last point, but I did have to have quite a lot of self-discipline, and there was a couple of times where I'd be sat next to people eating something I would really love to eat, but I said no. And here's actually a really funny clip of my girlfriend literally in a McDonald's right next to me.
I'm bulking.
There's a couple of occasions like that, family events, social events, and, you know, old school, sometimes you do just need a bit of self-discipline. Like, sometimes you just need to tell yourself, right, what do you want more? Do you want to eat that burger or that cake and get a bit of short-term satisfaction, or do you want to look the way you want to look in 6 months' time? So, yeah, for the most part, there was a lot of self-discipline. There was a lot of times where I had to tell myself, come on, Rob, get it together. What do you want more? You know, you've got a progress picture this Saturday. People are going to see if you fucked up or not. So training-wise, it pretty much stayed the same. So again, going back to the idea of maintaining muscle mass, in order to do that, I had to keep up the weight training. So whatever I've built in my gaining phase, I have to keep up that training. Otherwise, I'm not giving my body a reason to hold on to that size. So yes, I stuck to my weightlifting 3 times a week, and I would lift as heavy as I could within a healthy range. Now, the only thing that did change was my cardio. Now, for cardio, I did something called LISS, which is low intensity steady state, and it looks like this. Now, it's not the most fun or flashy or exciting, but again, I could adhere to it. I could put in my headphones, I could listen to a podcast or a song, and I could just go for it for 40 minutes. Again, going back to the principle, this is what this all revolves around, energy balance. So as I got deeper and deeper into my diet, I needed to keep increasing my energy expenditure to further that scale, right? My cardio started out at twice a week at 250 calories a time. It then increased to 3 times a week, 250 calories a time. Then the same 3 times a week at 300 calories a time. After about 2 or 3 months, it bumped right up to 400 calories 3 times a week. And so for the majority, I kept that up. Again, just like you saw in the video, I would just walk on a full incline until I burned 400 calories, which again, took about 40 minutes. And I would do this 3 times a week. Again, nothing fancy, nothing special. I would do it any time of day. And all it would do is would further increase my expenditure. Therefore, my energy balance goes further into a calorie deficit. So after I've done all this, what would be my top tips if you were going into a fat loss phase yourself? Plenty of water. Like, everyone knows that sometimes your body can confuse hunger for thirst, so getting plenty of water will ensure that just doesn't happen. So, you know, like before each meal, just swig a pint of water, you know? First thing in the morning, swig a pint of water. Like, water's calorie free. I'm sure you know that, right? So you can pretty much fill up on it pretty easily. And again, there's a whole host of benefits to water. You're an adult, I don't need to tell you. Another one, if I was to be cooking in a pan, whether I was frying like, I don't know, an egg or something, use these 0-cal sprays. Yeah, you can waste a fuck ton of calories on oils and things like that, like more than you realise. Get a 0-calorie spray, it's just so much better. Going back to the whole cheat thing, if you were to have a bit of a binge, or you know that on the weekends you tend to eat a bit more, then looking at your training routine, schedule it so that the Monday that you come back after a weekend, you're doing a lot of activity like heavy lifts. Like me, for example, I would do my squats, my deadlift, my bench press on the Monday, knowing that the weekend I've just ate a bit more than I usually would, and I would utilise all that fuel for that. Plenty of vegetables. So once again, it goes back to that high volume, getting full for very little calories, and veg are a fantastic way of doing that. And again, yeah, they're healthy, you know that. So yeah, another tip I'll touch on again is you can kind of cycle your calories for social events. So, you know, there's a handful of times I still balance social events in there, like family gatherings and stuff. And if I knew that the Friday we were going to be eating a little bit more than I usually am, then I would cut back a touch, or I'd do a little bit more activity 2-3 days before. And it's like you're banking calories for that event. That's completely fine, and it's a really cool tip. So rather than just kind of being the same all week, you can go up and down. As long as your weekly average stays the same, it's a pretty cool tip that you can do. For the most part, guys, I just stayed consistent. You know what really helped me, truthfully, was putting my progress pictures on Facebook and keeping myself accountable, knowing that people can see. Someone's going to look at this weekend, and they're going to see if I've stuck to my diet or not. Now, I'm not saying you should do that, but take photos and just keep them for yourself, or keep them for your partner or spouse or whatever, and just keep yourself damn accountable, because it makes all the difference. I really enjoyed it. I am more than happy with the results I've got. And yeah, I'm so glad I documented the whole thing, because I've got this now to go back on, including this video, and just, you know, say that I've done it and I know how to do it again. And I have shared this with others, and I've not kept anything to myself, and I've not just put out the before and after and been like, hey ho, look what I can do. I have documented the thing, the good, the bad, the fun, the, you know, the boring stuff. And yeah, pretty much it. I hope that's answered more or less everything. So, you know, quick recaps. My actual weight training routine didn't change that much. I maintained the muscle mass I built prior to that. I stuck to a calorie deficit in a way that suited me. I drank loads of water, ate loads of veg, kept my protein intake pretty high. I stuck to the diet more or less throughout the weekends as well. That makes a huge difference. If you just train and diet Monday to Friday and then go, you know, all hell breaks loose on the weekend, you can quite easily reverse that deficit. So yeah, stick to your diet through the weekends as well, as much as you can. So again, I hope that made sense. Any more questions, anything I didn't quite answer, let me know. Once again, all of them videos that I talked about, I will link in either the comments or the description of whatever platform you're watching this on. So as always, thank you for watching. If you could please like, share, comment, and tag a friend in this who's also going on a diet, it just might help them out. As always, thank you, and I'll see you in the next video.